All right, let's get started. So I say the class is the highest code block. So we can use it to store data, and we can create a method in the class. So let's do a review of it. Let me just share my screen to you, and I will ask you some question. So what is the recursive function? What are its uniqueness? I think we already know talked about that last week, so I'm not going to continue to ask you, but I just wanted to brush on recursive function. It has three features. In the function, it calls itself, and there must be a base case. And the recursive call, or we see in the function you call itself, and the parameter value you use must be changed so it will help that the function can reach the base case. So that's the three features of a recursive function. So let me ask you, what is the class construct and what is it used for? Does anyone know it? Anyone remember it? So you want me to call someone to answer if I do not get a volunteer? Okay.
Wait, did we learn this before? But because I'm not really sure about that. I don't recall like anything about a class constructor.
Okay. All right. So who remembers it? Catering. Good.
Is it init?
Yes. All right. So pattern, what can you add?
I was just gonna say that the constructors I just use for initiating something.
All right. So the constructor is the init method in the class. It's an init method in the class. And what is it used for? It is used to initialize the fields or the attributes or the properties. So if you have attributes and properties in the class, and then you wanted to use that to assign an initial value to it. All right, so I give you the homework. And I know that I have more than 6 students, but in the name in the classroom, all 6 students turned in the homework. That's great. So I wanted to pick up 2 students to present the homework because they are doing great on it and they turned in very early. So the first student I wanted to call on is Kathleen. Do you mind to share your homework to the class? Kathleen.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up.
Okay, then Ryan, you will be the next one, so prepare for that, Ryan.
Okay. So first I did these lines of code. It's initializing the person class. And then I did the 3 methods and functions that were required in the homework. And it's returning the get name, get subject, and get grade. And then I did these so it prints out the name, subject, and grade in a sentence form.
Yes, so wonderful. So I want Leo, you look at this from line 2 to line 5. That is the class constructor. You see, you use the init method to initialize the values. Line 3 and line 5 are the initialization of the class properties. This class has 3 properties, or we see 3 attributes, or we can see 3 fields. They are name, subject, grade. Okay, Kathleen, you are doing very good. The only thing you need to change is that change the class name to teacher, not person. Yeah, teacher. If you do that, that will be perfect. But you are good. You are doing very good. You understand it very well. All right. So yeah, then you need to change the variable name to lowercase teacher or something like that. So it does not mix, does not mess up, then does not confuse the system. Okay, because teacher now is a class name. So the variable you wanted to give it a different name. You can see a teacher or school teacher, whatever you wanted to name it. All right, Ryan, can you show your homework?
So first I listed out some of the teacher names with the teacher class in it. So after that I iterated through the teacher list and then printed out teacher list I.getName, teacher list I.getSubject, and teacher list I.getGrade, which return the self.name, self.subject, and self.grade.
Very good, Ryan. You always do a very good homework submission. I like it very much. And you can see that you have the correct class name. And I want some of the students to pay attention to line 7 up to line 14. That's the 3 methods I asked for in my requirements. I say you need to have this method. It needs to return the name. You need to have that method. It will return the subject. So you have to return the value. Okay, do not use print information or print. Print it, just print it out. It does not return the value. If a method returns a value, then you can store that value in a variable. So you can assign it to a variable, okay? If it does not return, you just use print, you cannot store those. You cannot store those in a variable at all. So then later on, you cannot use it at all. You cannot use it. So here you say you can get name. You see what Ryan did here. He used a teacher list, and then I got get a name. He can assign teacher one's name equal to, right? All right, very good. Thank you. I know that the majority of the class did very well on the homework. I just asked 2 students to present because they did it very well, and the code are different, and they submitted it in the earliest, the first one, and the one who did it differently, and also the first one. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ryan. Very good work. So now let's move on. Okay, so what we are going to today we are going to learn nested class. Now you know you can nest a loop in another loop, right? You can nest a function in another function. Here we're going to learn you nest another class into a class. So let me get a Leo. Leo, can you help me with this slide?
Okay. A nested or inner class is contained within another class. This is one example of encapsulation, where the inner class is not useful by itself. It cannot be used outside the outer class.
Just like a nested function. you cannot use that nested function outside of the out class, out function, out, right? It's only been used within that function. Here, same thing. The inner class cannot be used outside of the outer class. Okay? Only the outer class can use it, can call it. So let me show you an example. This is a very simple example, okay? You say I have a class called an outer. And then within this class, it has another class called the inner. Of course, this class does not have much code. I just show you the example to help you understand it. You see the inner class has no other code, just the pass statement. For same thing for the outer class, okay? Just have a pass statement here, okay? So, but you know the structure. That's how it looks like. It should looks like that. So in the class in Python is a distinct entity in that it does not automatically get access to the outer class members in any special way. So if you have a name, okay, in the out class, in the inner class, you cannot use name. It does not know it. It does not know it, okay? So it's really not that common. So if you do not know it, it's fine. It will not really affect you too much. What is an inner class? Why do we use it? It really does not matter much, okay? So let me just give you an example here. You see, I have a class called a human, okay? And then you have a constructor. Within the human class, we have another class called head, okay? So in the head, we have a function called talk, right? And then this will return talking. So you see now, you see what you do. So you create an instance of a human and you assign it to Guido, okay? And then you print out the Guido's name. Then you see what you do. This is how you use it. Guido dot head dot talk, okay? You just treat this head like a function or an attribute of the class. So that's why you see you can use Guido dot head. So that means this class has a method talk. So you just call it. Okay. So if you like it, let me give you this code and you can run it. All right. So let me give you this code. Okay. I want you guys to run it. Oh, come on. You guys have the same problem? The formatting problem?
Yes.
Okay. So let me correct it here. So right. So let me give it to you now. Let me stop it. So let me run this one. And code flow. You see, print out the Guido and then print out the talking. The talking is what this method returns. That's how you use it. That is how you use it. Okay. Does this make sense? Hunter, does it make sense to you?
Yes.
Good, very good. Okay, let's move on. All right, So advantage of in the class, and then let's just go quickly. Okay, it's just for you to make the code look neat. So logical, expression or something like that. So if you do it in the class, that will be better. So I'm not going to go through all those slides because it's very abstract to you guys. So do not have to bother. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about another very important concept. This concept, now you are at the advanced level of the basic classes. Okay. So I want you guys to pay attention to this. Hopefully this makes sense to you. And I will spend a lot of time here to explain it. Let me get a Hunt. Can you help me with this slide?
Instead of starting from scratch, you can create a class by deriving it from a pre-existing class by listing the parent class in parentheses after the new class name. The child class inherits the attribute of its parent class, and you can use those attributes as if they were defined in the child class. A child class can also override data members and methods from the parent.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Hunter. So this actually is the beauty of object-oriented programming. It saves you a lot of time. And why Python and Java and a lot of other classes is developed this way? Because this relationship and this feature we call the inheritance. You inherit everything from the parents. You inherit everything from the parents. It makes life so easy. All right, so let's go to next slide. Guys, so let me get a lecture. Can you help me read this one?
Inheritance allows us to define the class that inherits all the methods and properties from another class. Parent class is the class being inherited from, also called a base class. Child class is the class that inherits from another class, also called diverted class.
Thank you. Very good lecture. So inherited. So you see the inheritance, then you see the relationship. There's a parent class or base class. There's a child class or we say derived class. Okay, then you see this relationship between these two. Okay, so let me give you these two classes. Actually, you do not have to name this parent and you do not have to name this child. Okay, but you see, if you have this class called parent, if this child class is a child of the parent, then you need to put the class name here. That's a parent. You can change it, okay? You can change this, let's say, change this to AOE or STEM. And then change the child to like a Python class. And then here you need to put AOE there. So let me give you the code first, okay? And then we will explain it. I will show you some magic things, okay? And this is one of the most important we wanted to learn. All right, so you have that. Then let me put it in my PyCharm. Right, so you see I have the parent attribute called 100, right? In the child, I have no attribute, okay? No attribute. In the child, I do have an constructor. what does this constructor do? They just print out a calling child constructor. So what does this constructor do in the parent? It is a calling parent constructor. All right, you see, you have to put the parent here. That's the name of the parent class. So the name does not have to be parent. It can be like a string. It can be like a list, whatever class you have, okay? If you wanted to create a child of that class, you just put the parent class here. And you can put a multiple. You just separate them using comma. But let's just do this one first, okay? I want you to get that. And then now let's go to the next slide. You will see what we have. All right, so let's see that. So now please try creating an instance of the child and the instance of the parent. You will see that the child has methods defined in the parents. All right, so let's do that. Let's do that. All right. Follow me. All right, so look at my screen. So now I want to create an instance. I will say my parent equal to parent now, right? And then now I say my child equal to child now. Okay, so you see I created an instance of the parent, or also create an instance of the child. I want you guys to take a look at my screen now. See what happens. The magic thing happens now if I put my child. Let me put a dot here. Look at the prompt. You see, I have the method called get attribute, get attribute, set attribute. Actually, you see in this class, I never ever created a method like a get attribute, set attribute. I never ever. But why I got those? Where is that come from? You see, it come from here. In the parent, you have a method called set attribute, and you have a method called get attribute. So now you are the child. You inherit everything from the parent, everything, plus also everything, including the attribute as well. So let me put the dot here again. You see, you have the parent attribute property here. Property, parent attribute, that is this one. If you do not believe it, so let me just print it out. Print, okay? Child parent attribute. Let me just print it out. Okay, now let me run this, and you see what is printed out. Let me run it. You see what happens. You see here, when you create an instance of the parent, you see this printed out calling the parent constructor. That is this one, because you run the constructor. And then now you create an instance of the child. You see this method is called, and you see this is printed out calling child constructor. But in the child, my child, you do not have an attribute called a parent attribute. You don't have it at all. But why when I printed out, I got 100? Because here in the parent, it has the attribute. That attribute has this value. So that's why when you print it out, you are the child of the parent. You inherited everything that the parent has. So you see you have the attribute that the parent has, right? All right, so let me stop here and let's see if you have any question. This is one of the most important feature in a lot of programming languages. not just Python. If you learn this, it will be easier for you if you want to learn Java, .NET, C++ in the future, okay? Okay, as long as they are object-oriented programming language, they have this. All right, so let me stop here. Do you guys have any question? Kathleen, does this make sense to you?
Yes.
April, does this make sense to you?
Yes.
Great. So Dion,
Huh?
does this make sense to you?
Yeah.
It's a very straightforward. You understand it and you know how to use it, right?
Yeah.
Great. All right. So you guys are so smart. Let's move on. Very good. Let's move on. All right. So now let me do another thing here. Say my child. Stop. All right. You see, can you scroll down? If you do that, can you scroll down? Whoa. Why I have so many things here? I do not see this in the parent at all. The parent did not defend those. But why do I see all those here? Why do I see all those? You see, new, reduce the EX, set, H. You see, all those. Why do I have that? Why do I have that? You see, I do not have anything defended there. Can you guys take a guess? Take a wild guess. Even though it's wrong, it's okay. But I want you to be, you know, reduce yourself, reduce your man. Take a guess. What happened? Why I got so many? So then let me ask you, okay? All right. So Alexia, what happened? By your imagination, what happened there?
An error?
An error? Okay. Did you follow me so you know what I'm asking you? Okay, let me show you again, okay? Put a dot here and you scroll down and you see so many things here. And then those things actually we did not define here in the parent at all. The parent does not have those attributes. The parent does not have those methods. But why they appear here in the pop-up menu? Why? Just take a wild guess. Ryan, do you know? Take a wild guess. Just you know, release your mind. Just take a wild guess. Whatever you think, and it may cause this. Ryan.
Wait, what was the question?
All right. So I'm not going to repeat my question anymore. So because that costs time. So okay. So the reason is that actually you can think there must be another parent there. This parent you do not see. And what is that? Actually in the Python, okay, everything is a child of object, okay? Everything is the child of the object. Okay, you see everything is the child of object. So let me just show you what object has. You see my object, there's a dot here. You see the object has all those things there. The object is the parent of all and everything in the Python. So even the parent, you say you did not define a parent, its parent there. You did not put object like this there, but implicitly, everything is a child of object. Okay, even you do not write it that way, it is the child of the object. The object is the parent of all. So that is why you see when you do my child, and you see you have those things there. And they come from where? They come from object. You see object has that. Object is the base class for Python. It's the base class for Python. Everything comes from it. Okay. Let me stop here. Does it make sense to you? So Alexia, does this make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, very good. So let's move on. With that in your mind, okay, it is really good to understand the inheritance. So you see here, you can add new properties and methods to the child. The parent class will have no visibility of the change in the child. So whatever the child has, it may not be necessary in the parent, like this one. Okay, so which one? The child method are created in the child. And then now let me show you. Okay, you will not be able to see it in the parent. You say my parent dot. Do you see a method called a child method here? You do not. You do not. But if I do from here, my child, then you see you have a child method. So whatever you created, you add in the child class, it is not available. It is not visible to the parent. But whatever the parent has is visible or it's available to the child because the child inherited it. That's straightforward, makes sense. Okay. All right. Okay. So now let's just take a look at this one. So I wanted to get April. Can you help me with this slide, April?
The super returns a proxy object temporary of the super class that allows us to access methods of the base/parent class.
Okay, so very good. So thank you, April. So in the child, if you wanted to use the method of the parent, how do you do that? We just use the super, okay? Just use super to do that. Let me give you an example, okay? So you see dog is a class, and its parent is a Candida family, okay? That's a parent. You say you put a super there, and you call it the super init. So actually you are doing the construct of the Candida family, right? So super here represent the parent, okay? So the super returns a proxy object that allows us to access the methods of the base and the parent class, okay? Just like this one. If you do not use a super, you just use init, you are calling yourself. You are calling yourself. Here it means call the parents one. Okay, call the parents one. Okay, and now let me give you a quiz. So let me see what's your answer. Can you put your answer in the chat window? I get 3 answers right now. I get 4. I need more. Okay, very good. You guys did very good. You see here. So you use a super. Why would you not use air? Can you explain it?
In like the during in A, it's basically the same except for the end in the parentheses. There's nothing, but in B there's self, which makes it actually like work. So without it, if you were to like run that, it wouldn't. I don't know how to explain this, but like.
Now you are there. You're right. You see, let me show you the example. You see here, you need to pass in the instance of this one, right? You need to pass them in. So you need to provide something. You need to provide yourself to it. You're right. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Very good work. So a class in the Python can have multiple parents class. So all methods and the properties of all parents will be inherited. So this child class can have like 5 parents. And all the methods, all the properties in those 5 parents will be inherited. So if the parents have properties or methods of the same name and the child does not define its own, then the one from the parents which appear before the others will take the odd. So that means, okay, so I have a child class called dog, and the parent class called animal, and then the parent class called mammal. Okay, in animal there is a method called talk. In the mammal there is a method called talk. And in my dog class, if I do not define a method called talk, so you see the dog should inherit both talk methods from both parents. Now the system get confused, right? So if you want to create an instance of a dog and you then ask the dog to talk, which one should it use? All right. So Python tells you the priority. The one that appears first has the priority. That one will be the one used. Okay, so what do I mean? Let me show you. So you have a dog, you say non-marine mammal, non-winged mammal. Okay, then the one in this will take a priority because this one appears before that one. Right? So if you wanted to ask the dog to talk, and the dog does not have a talk method, then the talk in this class will be used. The talk method. Okay, very good. You guys are really doing great. All right, so I think for you guys, I really do not want to talk about those methods much. This is very advanced, and it's very hard for you guys to understand because most of you are in elementary school, so then it's hard. So the purpose, okay, is this: when we create an instance, actually, this method is called new, and you never see a new method is used, right? So let me show you, okay? Let me put the dot here, and you see here, you do see a new method. But when you do the class, you never see you have a new method here. But why this one is used? The new method is called when you create in an instance. What do you mean create an instance? Here is an example. You just create an instance of a parent. You create an instance of the child. So this is called you create an instance. When you create an instance, you get an instance of that class. Actually, it's not this method is called. It's not this method is called. It is the new method is called. But then you will come to ask me, oh, no, why you say that? You see here, it's obviously, you see it printed this out, and that is in this method. Yes, you are right on that sense, but actually there's something happened behind. This behind is very complicated, so that's why I see I'm not going to talk about much of it. So actually, you know, this new method is called. This new method will then call the init method. Okay, so let me just show you. You have this new, okay, method. The new method, if you do not have an init method, the new method will call the parents init method. Okay, so the actual thing is that the new method is called. Okay, so you see, the first parameter class represents the class being created. Why is it the class rather than the self? Because self represented the instance. And at that moment, the instance has not been created. So that's why you use class here. You see here, you use class. You cannot use self because the instance has not been created yet. Okay, you say use class, and then you say you pass the class to the parent if you wanted to use the parent, right? If you wanted to use the parent, that's what you say. Or if you do not understand it, that's fine. It's okay, okay? It is okay. Because the instance object has not been created yet and actually does not exist, while the new method is calling. Using self inside a new makes no sense. All right, so let me just read the second one. The instance method init is the initializer of a class. It is best to set initial values to attributes of an instance object in the init method. So you call new first, then call init, right? Then call init. So the init method does not have to return a value. Of course, it can if you like it, but Python will just ignore the returned value. Why? Because the init method, the purpose is to get an instance of the class and set its value. So anything you return, it will get ignored, just like this one, okay? So the purpose you want to have is to create an instance, and that's enough. Whatever it is returned in the init method will not be necessary. It's useless. Okay. All right. So then there are a lot of reading. I think it will confuse you. So let's just stop here. I will skip all the things here. All right. So give you this homework. I want every one of you to do this homework. Think about a class with at least 3 attributes and 3 methods. And in the teacher class, you already have it. You have the name, the subject, the grade. I have 3 methods: get name, get a subject, get grade. All right. So you can reuse that one. Then create a child class which derives from this class. You need to override at least 1 method in parent. When I say override, what does it mean? So that means this method appears in the parent. Now you redefine this method in the child. That is called override. So for an example, so you have a parent method here, and I can also do this. I just copy it and put it here, okay? Okay, so I will rewrite the parent method. I will say call child's parent method. Okay. All right. So then you say, let me use this one. Okay, let me just delete that one. Delete this one. I will just use this parent method. Okay. You see, if you have the parent method in the child, you also have the parent method in the parent. So that means you override whatever the parent method does. And it will only use this one if you use the child. So let me run it. You see here, you see calling child parent method. That's exactly what we did it here. So you say use my child dot parent method, it will use this one because you redefine it in the child. This is called override. You override it. Okay, so now is that you need to override at least 1 method in parent. So you can use get name, and you can override the behavior in the parent. So you redefine get name in the child. And you also need to add at least 2 new attributes to the child and 2 new methods to the child. So the child at least to have 3 methods. One is an override to the parent, and then you have 2 new methods, okay? And you need to have 2 new attributes. So you can use an example: vehicle, truck. Okay. All right. Let me stop here and return the class back to Miss here. Miss here, are you there? Okay. If Miss here is not there, then I think we finished what we need to do, and you guys are really great. So we can finish this class within time. And then, you know, you are dismissed. If you have a question, you can stay. If not, you are dismissed. See you next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Huh?